Hey there, Jacqueline with the Fable Tree here. This week we are making a framed fall bucket list or autumn favorites sign. I don't love the term bucket list, so I go with autumn favorites. Now, usually we start off with a horizontal canvas or a landscape oriented canvas. In this case, we're going to do a portrait to begin with, and then later on we will rotate it. All right, so it will be 10.9 inches wide and 19 inches tall instead of the opposite, right? Giving us this up and down orientation. So I want you to come over here to whatever shape is activated, and you want the rectangle tool. Now mine is going to be 9 inches wide by 12 inches tall. Yours can be whatever dimensions you prefer. And the first thing you want to do once you've created it is come and remove the fill. All right. When you create your first shape, it'll have a white fill. You want to get rid of that. Okay. Now, you have a couple of options when it comes to creating a frame. I'm going to create a frame with those little mitered corners because I like to save the wood and I also like the look. So I'll show you what I mean. Go ahead and click your 9 by 12 rectangle, go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and do a negative 0.5 inch, in other words, a negative ½ inch offset. Okay. Now, if you want your frame to look like this, just one solid piece, I'll show you what to do. Go ahead and select both of those. Swap the fill and stroke so they're both filled. It doesn't matter what color. Come over to your Pathfinders panel and click. All right, then swap the fill and stroke back and you have a beautiful frame. And you'll just create another 9 by 12 rectangle for the backing. All right, I'm not doing that for mine. I do want to, let's edit redo because I want to keep that offset path. So what I'm going to do, again, to save wood and because I like the look of it, is create little corner slices and then I can move my frame pieces around and maximize space. So I'm coming over, I don't know if you saw that, click on the rectangle tool and hold it until you see the line segment tool. And now I'm going to zoom in. I use Command plus on my Mac. It might be Control plus on your PC or just view zoom in. And I'm coming to the very corner. I'm hovering over. I'm not clicking anything yet until it says anchor. Then I'm going to shift, click, and drag to this inner corner. All right, that shift keeps your line at a perfect 45-degree angle. All right, and go ahead and do that to all of your corners. Shift, click. It doesn't matter if you start at the inner corner or the outer one, as long as you're connecting those two anchors with a 45-ish degree, with a 45-degree angle. All right, here we go. And the last one. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to select all. So you can Command A or Control A or select all. All right. Now that I've done that, I'm coming over to the Live Paint Bucket tool. If you don't have that, come down to Edit Toolbar and find it. All right, so Live Paint Bucket, and you'll see it kind of, I don't know, activated, it lit up. And now when you're clicking over here, you click to make a live paint group. All right, so click inside of one of these edges, not the very center, not outside, click inside one of these edges, okay? And you can choose 2 different colors. It doesn't really matter what color, but choose a fill and no stroke and come in and make the opposites different colors, okay? So you've got, I'm doing red for those. I'll do, who cares? I'll do, the color really doesn't matter, green for those, all right? And once you're done, just click over to just the regular selection tool and just click off of the page. Okay, now you want to click one of them, or oh wait, you click the whole thing, Object, let's see here, Object, Expand, and you'll want to expand the object and the fill, but not the stroke. Okay, so once you've done that, now you can click this, just click anywhere on it, okay, and come to Object, Ungroup, and then just keep ungrouping as long as you have ungroups to ungroup, okay? And once you've got that, you're most of the way there. You can click on the red, and you can either just shift click to select the other one, or just select same fill color, and then copy it, and then paste it somewhere, right? Just move it down here for now. Do the same with your green, so same fill color, copy, and then paste it down here. And again, just get it out of the way. All right. And then take all of this mess up here and just delete it. And that way you don't have to worry about, oh, did I get every single thing that turned into a shape or not? Just click and drag across that whole area, delete, and you know that you're good. To double check, come over to the layers panel and click down, and you just need those 4 shapes. 2 horizontal green, 2 vertical red. All right. And now we can come back up. Now, are there other ways that you can create mitered corner frames? Of course, but this one is one that works reliably, works easily, and so I really enjoy it. So scooch everything over till they're really close to one another. You want to keep your orientations, like you don't want to rotate this 90 degrees to help it fit more, because then if you're using wood, it'll mess up the grain. And so I keep the orientations in the same way that they were, but I kind of scooch them together. Again, this helps you maximize wood instead of using a big old cutout rectangle. So now I want to just go ahead and give those a black fill and actually switch them back to stroke, and you'll have those cut out perfectly. All right. I want to, let's just move these to the bottom after all, because I just want to be able to visualize my sign a little bit better. Let's come back to the line segment tool and change it to a rectangle tool. Go ahead and just create another 9x12 rectangle, and this will now be our backing. And it can be helpful, this is optional, but it can be helpful to add to that offset path again, just so that you can visualize when you are placing your words. And so I even go ahead and make it a different color just to remind myself to take it out again later. Okay, or you can leave it there as a scored placement guide. All right, so now we have our sign backing, we have the frame, and it's time to work on our words. So you can look up all sorts of inspiration for fall bucket lists. Again, I'm doing autumn favorites, and I'm going to use Bohemian Hunter font, and I'm going to use the thin version. And so autumn, and we'll worry about the size in just a minute. Autumn favorites. First thing I want to do, let's zoom in so we can see these tiny texts here. So I'm going to go ahead and create outlines, and I'm doing these separately so that I can align them properly. All right, you can certainly eyeball it if you are confident in your eyeballing abilities, but I'm not. So I'm going to go ahead and select both and use my horizontal align center tool. And look how far off I was, y'all. That was my best. I was doing my best to line those up properly, and I did a terrible job. If you don't have that align panel, you can go object align and find it that way. Okay, so now that you have them aligned properly, you can Pathfinder Unite or Object Group, and that way it stays as one unit. Then shift click in the corner and drag to resize. So I mentioned to you at the beginning that I am going to be doing the autumn favorites part as cutout letters, and everything else will be engraved. So I want this to be fairly large. If you're doing fall favorites or fall bucket list, you can decide whether to put it on 1 or 2 lines as you see fit, but this font is fairly thin, and I just don't want to have to worry about things getting too crispy. So this is what I'm going to do, and I want it to be about 7 inches wide. I'm coming over here so that I can make sure that I'm preserving my proportions, okay? So 7 inches wide, so it's going to really take up a lot of that space, and I'm all good with that. Now, I eyeballed, and again, I'm going to just horizontal align center, and look, I wasn't too far off there. And you can place it as far from the top as you think looks good. Then get your type tool and start, I'm going to go ahead and just bump up my font size first and start typing out your fall favorites or your autumn favorites or your fall bucket list or what have you. So don't worry about formatting it just yet. You just want to get all of your text in. So I'm going to do apple picking, be cool if I could spell, bonfires, roasting marshmallows. I'm going to do picking pumpkins. Yes, I prepped this list ahead of time so I didn't have to think of it off the cuff. Carving jack-o'-lanterns. I'm going to do drinking apple cider. And these are pretty specific to my family, so your family might have different fall traditions. So I encourage you to really personalize this list. We really like hiking beautiful trails. Ooh, beautiful trails. We do trick-or-treating. Hopefully we'll do that this year. planting bulbs, which again is a big thing in my family, but maybe not in yours. And there's one more. I just needed to move it so I could see. Snuggling. That's my favorite. All right. So you can leave yours left justified. And I think this would be especially cool if you had a little fall leaf shape that you could use as a bullet point. So that's an option. Or even a pumpkin or just some sort of a fall shape. I'm going to go ahead and just center justify mine though instead, because I like that look. And we'll worry about aligning in just a minute. I don't know why I'm trying to make it perfect when I know I'm going to use Illustrator tools to help me in anyway. So once you're sure that you have all of your autumn favorites on your list and that they're spelled properly, let me just look because I was talking while I was writing this. I can okay, cool. Now you'll go ahead and right click, create outlines. And if you're using a script font, make sure that you click in the Pathfinder Unite. If you don't have Pathfinder, go to Window, Pathfinder, and pull up your panel that way. All right, so now I want to make sure that everything is centered and beautiful. So, just select all of these, leave your frame parts out, and center, horizontal align center. And then how do you perfectly vertical align center, given that you're centering it from this and not from the edge of the frame? Well, what I do is I just create a rectangle. So I'm going to come from the very bottom of my text. All right, and go to the edge of the frame, not the edge of the whole thing, but the edge of the frame, because it matters if it's visually centered, not if it's, perfectly centered. And then select this and your rectangle and use that vertical align tool. Now you'll notice that it moved the shape. And so while everything is still selected, you can zoom in if you'd like, and just bump it back up until it is aligned with the bottom of that text, and then delete your rectangle. And that makes this more visually appealing because your text here is centered between the edge of the frame, okay, and the bottom of your cutout words. So at this point, you're almost done. If you want your sign to be entirely engraved, you can just leave it like this. I don't. I'm going to cut these out. So I'm selecting my autumn favorites, and I'm going to just copy it and paste it down here and turn it into strokes so that the Glowforge will cut it instead of engraving it. And then up here, I want to go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and do a -0.03, or maybe let's just do -0.04. That's my usual. And what this will do is allow us to score placement lines on the backing, because as we have already shown, I'm really bad at eyeballing, and maybe you are too. So once you've done your offset path, go ahead and just change that fill to green, and then come down to this little arrow and swap it to turn it into a stroke. Before you click off of that or do anything else, go ahead and Command-C to copy it, or Control-C if you're on a PC, okay, or Edit Copy, and then just delete it. And then delete that too, okay, and then go to Edit, Paste in Place. All right, and now you'll have scored lines. Again, make sure that these are strokes and not fills, and the Glowforge will just score this on the backing. Make sure you set it to score. And then when you go to glue everything down, you'll know exactly where it's going to go. Now, we're gonna work with formatting here for a minute, okay? So my sign will have a light colored backing, and it will have Sapili words and frame. So I actually want my frame and cutout words on a different document. So I'm going to just select those and copy. Go ahead to File and New, and then make sure that you're doing the one that is a landscape orientation. Okay, and then just move things around. And it looks like we can't do it that way. So let's go ahead and select, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead and select all of the frames and go to Object, Transform, Rotate, and just rotate it 90 degrees. All right, now what did that do? Well, it got our short ones to be vertical and our long ones to be horizontal, and that means that it'll actually fit this direction, okay? And then go ahead and move your words up and just nestle them in the corner. And you can even object ungroup them so that you can get everything, really snugged in and maximize your materials usage. I am not fanatical about this, but I do try to be pretty careful. Okay, so that's your sapele, and you might even save it as Autumn favorites, frame, words, and maybe call it sapele. But you want to really, when you're saving your files, you want to make sure that you're saving them carefully named. So I saved it as an Illustrator file first, and now I'm going to save it as an SVG. SVG 1.0, turn off responsiveness so it doesn't resize. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. First of all, I want to delete that scored frame line because it's not necessary. And then I'm going to select all of this part. Okay, so copy it using either edit copy or command or control C. New document, and this one is in landscape already. Paste it, and again, you'll notice it's not going to fit. So you can come over here to 90 degrees, or you can come up and do object transform rotate like you just saw me do before. Okay, and since this one is the backing, it's going to be its own document. Okay, so Autumn favorites sign backing. Right, and then again, save it as an Illustrator file and also as an SVG 1.0, responsiveness off, and you are good to go. Now remember, when you put this into the Glowforge, you need to set this outer line as a cut, these scored placement lines as score, and these letters as engraved. All right, customize this however you'd like, score cool backings on there if you want to upgrade it, and I would love to see pictures of your finished fall bucket list signs.